you for joining. Thank you for joining the demo session on Advanced SQL Server. So this is a course meant for developers. Mostly the development aspect of SQL Server is being covered, even if certain architectural aspects are covered, but that is for the purpose of the developer alone. And some features like change data tracking, etc., will be covered. But again, that is for the purpose of the developers to understand the options and features available in SQL Server. Let us look at what are the specific topics that are going to be covered and the prerequisite. So I'm going to be looking at what are the objectives that are there that are set for this particular SQL Server Advanced class. The option set is, or what are the objectives? Objective is people get well versed with advanced SQL commands. Now, some may say whether it's advanced, basic, or intermediate, that depends on the person. But when we say advanced, it is something that is little more than basic select statements up to joins and subqueries. Then what are the extra features available when I'm writing my select statement or when I'm writing my insert, update, delete? Those are covered. So that is the advanced SQL commands and operations that we mean. Specific, we will talk about it as we are proceeding. Then we will look at what is the physical architecture of SQL Server. The SQL Server has various aspects like memory, I/O, etc. So we will see the memory aspect, of course, but that is more theoretical because that we need to know how it is working. That's more. And it will help maybe in understanding certain information that we will be sharing when we are doing query optimization, etc. But mainly our focus is on how SQL Server stores the data internally and how the I/O happens. Because as a developer, I need to optimize my queries based on one, how SQL Server stores the data, two, how the database has been designed. If the database is designed properly, and if you know what and how SQL Server stores the data and how to find out whether it is taking more time to retrieve, one will be able to write efficient queries. So therefore, we will look at SQL Server physical architecture, how SQL Server physically stores data. That is beyond file group. Then we will look at the table structure and the index structure of SQL Server. Then we will look at locking and concurrency. So locking and concurrency, when we look at it, we will also be covering the transaction aspect of SQL Server. What are the different transactions? What do we mean by transaction? What are the different modes of transactions available in SQL Server? Then what is the concurrency issue that we will face and how to solve it using various isolation levels? This is what will be covered in locking and concurrency. Then query execution plan. Once you know the details about SQL Server internal or physical architecture, how data is being stored, how it is retrieved, and what is the expenditure approximately in terms of memory I/O, then we can start seeing how SQL Server query optimizer optimizes the query and creates an execution plan. And within execution plan, you have components like operators. So we come to know what are the operators that are available. We will look at what are the operators that are available in general that we need to know at the basic level. So because this being part of advanced course, we will not be looking at exclusive query optimization and query execution. It is a part of this course. We will be looking at the overview and the basic that is required for you to start optimizing the query. So these are the objectives that we have got. Now I'm going to shift my focus in terms of what is required from the person who is attending this course. So I will look at what is the knowledge that one must have. So I'm shifting the share, what I'm going to share. Let me just shift. So a person who is going to do this course should have prior knowledge of logical architecture of SQL Server. What do I mean by logical architecture of SQL Server? One should know what do we mean by SQL Server instance. Then one should know what do we mean by system databases, user databases, tables, indexes. What do we mean by file groups and files? In general, files. What that up to that point, one should understand what is the architecture of SQL Server. The physical architecture, which means how the data is actually stored, will be covered here. But the logical architecture is expected, the person is expected to know. Then how a table is designed. So there is a design, a specific way to design a table. And what are the data types available and how to use the data types that are available. These things will be covered as part of table design. Then T-SQL basic. So T-SQL basic, starting from writing a small insert, update, delete statement, writing some stored procedures, some triggers, then how to write basic select up to join and subqueries and correlated subqueries. This is what is expected. So the basic queries, the joins and the subqueries, then how to use the T-SQL syntax, how to use a while loop, right, in T-SQL, how to use if else. So these are the expectations, how to create basic stored procedures, cursors and functions. What are the uses of cursors? What is the use of a function? What are the different types of functions like table valued, scalar, and in table valued you have inline table valued and uh, generally multi-statement table valued functions. You'll see that. Then what are the triggers and what are views and indexed views? So this portion is supposed to be known by the participant who is attending this session. But, and where do you get all of this? Suppose a participant, one of you all is not very clear with in one of these topics. If it is one or two topics, we can cover it as part of this training. But if it is most of them, then I would recommend you attend SQL Server basic training, which will also be conducted by Go Online trainings. Okay, what is the methodology that we are looking at? The methodology that we are looking at is a theory session will be there and a demo will be given, and the demo will be given to you so that you can try it out. So this is there. Kind of a case study cannot be given because this covers various areas of topic. And here our objective is to cover advanced features. So exercises will be given, which are relevant and which will cover the scenarios which we find in practical situations. That means as you said, live situations. So we are going to be doing that. Now let us go to the next relevant information. So what is it that we are going to cover as part of advanced T-SQL feature? So we will be covering the concept of change data capture and all the related T-SQL statements required for change data capture. One may have a question, why you require change data capture for a developer? He needs to understand this feature is available. And then based on this, he can write queries. So we will look at how the change data capture happens. 3 features are there: change tracking, change data capture, and you also have temporal tables. We'll see them. Then common table expressions are there. So we'll look at common table expressions, or CTE, which is nothing but a specific way or method to encapsulate a query and use it in another query. Then we look at pivot, unpivot, which is another feature which is used for reporting specifically. We will look at partitions, table partitions. We will look at window functions, that is using the over clause. And then we will look at the rank functions, right? And we will have correlated subqueries. Then apply, cross apply. We will have merge. We'll have group by set. We'll have with output exception handling, with result set, offset and fetch, throw and sequence. So these are the different options available as part of Advanced SQL Server feature. Now, the overview also will be given of the physical architecture of SQL Server in terms of what is the memory. Then there is a SQL operating system. Then we have memory management, how we have memory management in SQL based on Windows memory management. So the memory aspect is covered, the operating system aspect is covered, disk IO is covered, and then you have process scheduling as well. So this will be covered in very short manner, it's a very brief manner. Then we will look at table and index structure. So what do you mean by SQL Server file? What is the page architecture? Okay, what are the different objects that are available like extents? Then what are the different pages available to store different pieces of information? Data access and index architecture. So these are the things that we will be covering. And apart from that, we will also see there are two features to store file directly in SQL Server. One feature is called a file stream. And based on file stream, you also have file table, where the file is stored inside SQL Server, but can be accessed as though it is accessed from the Windows file system. Then we will look at the concept of transaction, locking, and isolation. This is what is expected. Then finally, in the locking, transaction, isolation, and locking concepts, okay, isolation levels, transactions, blocking deadlocks, latches, and spin locks. So these are the points that will be covered inside locking and concurrency. So as we said, transaction types also will be covered. Then under query optimization, we will look at query processing, statistics, understanding execution plan, identifying query execution or issues basically, then query performance and hints and plan free. So these are the things that we will be covering under query optimization. So this is what is pretty much the coverage. Now I will give a small short demo of what we will cover when we give a demo session so that we know how a demo session happens. So let's take a simple example of what we mean by window function. So when we start window function, whenever SQL Server functions, so what are the functions? We have table valued and scalar functions. When they operate on each row or they operate on a set of rows. And these set of rows are usually based on the groups created. And if you look at the set of rows or single rows, the function operates completely on the table. Now, you have row-based operation and set-based operation. Let's take an example of row-based operation. So here I'm going to use AdventureWorks database, which is a demo database. And I have a function which is year, and then I have a function which is month. Now, I execute this select statement. When I execute this select statement, you will notice that the function year is giving us an output, which is the year out of the date, which is order date. So the year part is taken out. And this function operates on every row. So when you look at a window of operation for the function, it is one single row. Similarly, what is the window of operation for month, which is giving you the month part from the date? It is every row. So you can see row by row, it picks up the data and it gives you the order month and the order year. This is what we mean by functions which have a window of one single row. Then let us look at another example where when we talk about a particular function, the function will have the entire set as the input. and it will return one value based on the set. So it operates on set of rows. Taking an example, suppose I don't group anything. If I'm just going to do an aggregate or use an aggregate function like sum, it will operate on all the rows. So when I say, let's take this example, same example, but without any other column, just the sum. So let us see for this function sum, what is the set? So for this function sum, if I am just going to use the sum, the set of rows is the entire table. So the input that is given to this function is the entire table, row by row, many values, and then you get one single value. This is called set-based operation. So the function operates on a set of rows or a group of rows. Similarly, if you have a group by class, like year and month, based on year and month, I want the total consolidated sales amount. Then year and month operates on every row to get the year and the month. And then the total due will operate on based on the group that is created, the rows which are present in that group. Therefore, again, it is set-based operation. So here you have the data which will give me set-based operation. So some aggregate function will operate on group of rows depending on what is present as columns in the group by clause. Then year operates on one value for range of the entire table. So window of operation is a single row, and the range of operation is the complete table. So you have window of operation and range of operation. Similarly, sum, window of operation is a group of rows, and the range is the entire table. So the questions will be, how many values does the year function act on? It acts on only one value. Does the year function operate on all the rows available? Yes, that is the range. Hence, window of operation for the year will be one row and the range will be all available rows. Okay. So window is defining the range of rows for the function to work. If it is one row, it is single row. If it is many, or if it is more than one row, many rows. So that is the point of windowing function or window. So here we have taken some example of how the window is done for a group and for a single row. So here we have seen this example. Now, let us look at a function where I do want both the aggregate data. Why do you need a specific function for choosing a window? That question will come. The question is, when I want to show the output of the functions operating on different window ranges, like year is operating on a row, but the sum is operating on the group. But the same data, I want the data, detailed data, as well as the summary data together. Like, give me territory-wise total due along with percentage total due. So there, territory-wise, I want to know how much sales has happened and what is the percentage. So which means I have to have both the information. Without a window function, the select statement that we write becomes a slightly complicated, and this is how it is. Sum of total due divided by select sum of total due as and into 100. So the percentage will be given. This will be slightly complicated. But here also, if you notice, I have territory-wise percentage. But suppose I want to get territory-wise data as well as total so that the person can see the percentage, it becomes slightly difficult. So there we use a windowing function, which is having the over clause. And here we partition the data and get the detailed data. That means the aggregate sales for every territory and total aggregate sales. Both of them we get. So we will see how to get this information. So this gives me the territory ID. Territory ID wise, how much of sales has happened and what is the total sales, and you will get the percentage. So if you carefully notice, the total sales is operating on the complete table, whereas territory-wise sales is operating only on the group of territory. So I can show aggregates at more than one level when we are using the window function. And then, of course, there are other benefits of having window functions. What are the benefits? The first benefit of window function is we can, within the window of operation, we can get the data from any of the row, like how we use cursor functions. Similarly, to some extent, we can go and get the previous 10 rows, previous row, next 10 rows, and so on and so forth. So that part we do. Okay. So this is the window function. So with this, we complete the short demo session. And this demo session was basically to tell what all will be covered and how a demo is covered typically. Then we will give you the query to get to execute the demo and see, and some exercises that you can try on your own. This will be the content of SQL Server session. Okay. So if there is any question that somebody, I think only Gangadharam, he just joined. So yes. Um, Madhav,
Yes, sir.
yeah, so I finished the demo session for 20 minutes. So some of them have joined.
Yeah.
So now, so can I ask them questions? Is the demo is being recorded, so it will be given to them.
Yes, sir. It is recorded. I will give to them, sir.
Okay, send it across.
Hmm.
I have Lokesh, I have Arnesh and Gangadharam. So we just completed the demo session quickly. Is there any question that anyone has? Yes, Madhav. We can actually stop the recording, and those who could not attend today can attend tomorrow. It starts at 7:30, so that you can get to see how the topics will be covered in Advanced SQL Server. Yes, Madhav. We can stop the recording now.